Alright, we're back here for match 1 of this video. Okay, so yes, we're on the play. This hand is really only lacking a 1-drop creature, but is pretty reasonable overall otherwise, so definitely a keep. Okay, we are on play against J-O. Okay, opponent's bowling to 5. Alrighty then. So, Boggles perhaps? This is kind of bizarro land. Yep. It is... Alrighty then. Helion maybe? Bizarro land indeed. So what the heck are you playing over there? Ah, so they are playing enchantments. Do we even have anything in our sideboard for this nonsense? Guess we have 2 copies of Wear Tear. There we go. Did not expect Enchantress to be on the list of stuff we'd play against tonight. Alright, and pass. I presume you have answers to that, but Utopia Sprawl. Guess it gets 2 points of damage in, so opponent finally searching for something. Enchantress's presence, sure. Three mana. Enchantress presence into On the Nice. Indeed. Okay, see if we can find another creature perhaps. Okay, points of 2. I'm probably going to fetch that away. Goes to 11. Okay, so what do we even have for this matchup? 4 Sanctifiers and 2 Wear Tears, basically. Mm-hmm. Is it going to go after Goblin Guy here? Yeah. And pass. Mm-hmm. Sure. Sanctum Lever, sure. Okay. Good, kill that. So the other reason we're sticking in this game is our opponent only having 1 Enchantress's presence means Destiny Spinner, sure. Do it to hiss for 8 here if they chose. Alright, so we use Riftbolt to kill Destiny Spinner. Fun, exciting game, isn't it? Okay. Why would you... Okay, sure. That makes no sense, but... Yep, and pass. There goes Solitary Confinement, so they finally draw a card. Sterling Grove, yeah, that's probably game. Okay. And pass. Been a long time since I played against Enchantress. At least in a league. Yep, Enchantress's presence. Enchantress's presence, draw a card. Mm-hmm. Probably not the smartest to cast this right now, but, you know, whatevs. Alright, and pass. Prison decks are always fun to play against, especially when they kind of get lucky and have the hate card they need game 1. Okay, so So we get to hit us with a land here. Basic Forest, hit us with a 8/8. It's like they should have conceded by now. Swift Spear. Go to 2. Kill your Destiny Spinner. Target creature gains double strike. Some way, somehow, our opponent doesn't have an answer. We might actually win this game, or can kill us this turn. Sure. Sure. It's like I'm not conceding, so please proceed. There we go. Maybe kill Sanctum Weaver would be great here. Not they might be able to cast Emrakul next turn. Okay. Decent chance we're dead to something next turn. After all, they're going to untap with like a billion mana and having drawn like 3/4, 2/3 their deck. Sure. Sure. Presume you have some way to, actually win the game, right? Okay, what do you go grab? Don't know why you wouldn't play Cephas first, but, whatever. Sure. I mean, that technically is a 2-turn clock, eventually. Enchantress's presence, sure. Play one more spell that isn't an Emrakul, you just deck yourself. sure why you decked yourself, but sure. Guess technically they haven't decked themselves yet. If they're smart, they never cast another spell and just try to beat us down. We'll see this. So, apparently they're not. They're just going to kill themselves, sure. Alrighty. Alright, so Wear Terror's coming in. Sanctifier and Vex coming in. Path to Exile might be a consideration. Chalice. Chalice is Chalice, I guess. Searing Blaze is largely trash in the face of stuff. I think Lava Spike's the next worst one. Just because I can't target creatures. So, max creatures, max Whirling Vortexes, and could conceivably bring in something like Rest in Peace so they can't loop Emrakul, but we want to keep creature heavy hands, obviously. We shouldn't have won that game. Our opponent should have just stopped at what they had and went from there. So we'll definitely keep this hand. It has a creature, not the best hand overall, but our opponent's may or may not mulligan the Leyline. We know they have at least 2 in their main deck, so we can anticipate they're gonna mulligan pretty aggressively towards that, or whatchamacallit, Solitary Confinement plus ways to draw cards. So yeah, we anticipated them having that in their opening hand. Nothing terribly surprising. Turn 1 ramp spell too? Sure. Okay, Rolling Vortex is like our best overall draw. You know, than something like Wear Terror, obviously, but it goes to 19. Presumably has like Ossification or Leyline Binding or something for this. Yeah, on the nice, you know, whatever. Okay, fetch basic mountain here. Vortex go. Not that there's any free spells in their deck, but it's at least a clock. Sure. Come on, give me something here. Bolt, something. That works out quite nicely. Pass. Really should have waited to play that until they had the ability to play another enchantment. Okay, Swizzle Spear, sure. Set them for 1. Decent chance they have another kill spell in their hand. Sure. So, Bloodman's still in the works, I guess. Yep. Another Leyline, sure. 4. Not the most exciting plan, but at least it's a plan. Decreases their amount of draw steps. Okay, abundant growth is a redraw. Mana, Blood Moon? Nope, another Leyline, sure. Okay, so I think we take the opportunity to shock this in, not thrilled about it. Go to 6. Double strike this. Put our opponent to 4, now effectively 3. Blood Moon. Solitary Confinement, which buys them a turn. Creature? Not a bad one. Confinement will die. So, unfortunately, they do blank Vortex this turn, but Confinement dies. And did you draw anything? Nope. Okay. This is historically a match that's been pretty terrible, but we're back for match 2 and up against Living End. So we need to have a relatively fast hand. I'm shocking in, sure. So generally speaking, Menino Ne is on Living End because that's like the deck they're known for. So possibility the Swift Spear gets dealt with, but by subtlety or something. But we have to put pressure on the battlefield, so let's go. Dun, 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 dun. Yep, Living End. Not that I'm entirely surprised. Okay, so Maker of Ways. They've been a Shardless agent. And they grief us, so they can take something here. I don't even know what you're looking for. I guess you're looking for Vortex, which, for better or worse, is not in our hand, so... Okay, well, I mean, better or worse, hopefully you don't have the Force of Negation. Unfortunately they do, so... Kind of hard to beat Living End when they have this kind of draw. Guess the only blessing here is the fact that they can't Living End us this turn. Okay, well, another Roiling Vortex. Better to be lucky than good. Go ahead and suspend the Riftbolt here. Opponent's like, seriously? So, best case scenario, they go to 2 here, and then they're dead to Riftbolt. Okay. So, we got game 1, which is nice. Chalices, Rest in Peace, and potentially Firecraft. Stern Blaze is generally trash in this matchup. We could potentially bring in Wear and Tear. I don't know his latest list, if they have been on ley lines. Guess it's never hurts to check. Dex. Modern. Living End. Okay, that recent finish. 3 lane lands of Sanctity. So, some consideration to bring those in. Some consideration to go down some number of Rift Bolts and try it like that, I guess. This would be great if we had lands. Alright, this hand is borderline, but we'll put back that. No late line. Okay. So, turn 1 Grief. No. Okay, we do need to draw a land, though. Well, it doesn't look like they have a cycler either, which is kind of bizarre land. Not the card they want to draw, that's for darn sure. Yep, so they get to take Roiling Vortex. Yep. Color me shocked. Mm-hmm. 4 cycling, so they will have their 3rd land next turn. Land? Alright, well, I mean, we at least get them put them under the gun if they don't have a Cascader, but that seems highly unlikely. We're going to have another Grief to add to the party, so we're not going to have a hand after they Living End us. Mm-hmm. Shock in. Yep. Violent Outburst. Goodbye board. Goodbye cards. And concession. Alright. So let's play first. Try it, I guess. Not the best hand against them, but does have 2 of our hate cards. Possible we're supposed to mulligan this hand, but just feels like it goes to 6. No last Sanctity, not that I'm surprised. Do the turn 1 Grief. Cycle. Yep, as always. Must be nice. Chalice would be nice. Could have worse cards, I suppose. They go to 17. Foundation Breaker. It's unfortunate. Love to draw Chalice. Another Goblin guy doesn't seem great. So they're gonna have their land for Living End. Do they have the Living End? So we'll find out in a second. Decent chance they have Violent Outburst or some negation. What on earth is in their hand? EOT Violent Outburst? Nope. Okay. So somehow they don't have the Cascader. hand all around. Okay. Living End, fetch that away. Oh. Reveal, another Living End. Before, so you're need to play a blocker this turn. Oh wow. Okay. So we're back for match 3 against the Kahira deck. This doesn't look like a winning hand against them, so it does much better. Put back Riftbolt for now. Searing Blaze might be a deadish card. It's kind of hard to say. Problem is, against a Kahira deck, you don't know if you're up against Blue-White X, if you're up against an Omnath deck, if you're up against, aggressively as they mulligan, something like Glimpse combo with like a elemental sub-theme. So, could very well still be Blue-White. Decent chance we're just up against a bad Blue-White draw. Okay, I have. Sure. So they have Leyline Binding online, which is fine-ish. Need to hold back at least. Good chance this just gets Leyline Binding. Nothing. Okay. Missed point of damage there, potentially. But what is going on over there? Omnath? The One Ring. Okay, put you to 8. It's going to 7 at least. Okay. Trying to play Teferi, or what are we playing here? Wilderness Reclamation. Okay. Interesting strategy. Do you have Force of Negation in your deck? Go to 1, which means you can't crack that fetch land, so you gain 1 life. I didn't even know Wilderness Reclamation was back in the format. Alright, so any Reclamation. Is there any recent finishes with it modern? Shockingly, there are not. Okay, so definitely want these. Configure Wilderness Reclamation deck's gonna have. They could potentially have Omnath, so I can't rule that out. They could have Chalice. They could have it's kind of hard to say. So I think what we're gonna do, we're gonna go with the weird split here of 2 Firecraft, 2 Wear Tear for 4 Steering Blaze. Now they could still have targets, you know, they have Shark Typhoon tokens, you know, that kind of stuff. And obviously they have Kahira, but yeah, we can't keep the 5-lander. This hand's not super exciting, but it's alright. Alright, I mean, they could have, like, Teferi, but at least we get the Riftbolt out of the way before they can potentially, I feel like we're getting Chalice here. Nope, Renitex. Okay, so they're, like, Teamer stuff with a splash for Leyline Binding, maybe? Be one reason you'd play a weird combination of cards. Okay, so you have a Force of Negation for this. And tank, resolve. I mean, unless you're like Teferi bounce it, which is like worst case scenario, I guess. Which it looks like may very well happen if they go basic planes here. Yep, Teferi bounce. Yep. So they might like Force of Negation on the way back down. Yeah, that's what the tanking was about, was the fact that they had Teferi. So they do in fact have Force of Negation in their deck. This Ren's gonna be actually kind of annoying this game. You have the Wilderness Wreck to boot? Nope, they have the One Ring. Okay. Alright, so nothing we can do this turn. It goes to 13. Another copy of the One Ring. Yep. These are the fun Magic play patterns that we engage in these days. One Ring into the One Ring into... So... Okay. Well, now effectively we'll have infinite Force of Negations, so we can't attack them, we can't target them, so we just pass and die of boredom. Get to bounce it with Teferi. Okay, Wilderness Reclamation. Yep. And they even found a win con. I'm so proud of our opponent. Did you just float mana with the float mana? Apparently you did. Okay, well, we'll try firing spells at your face, but you do basically have unlimited Force of Negations. Tank. Tank some freaking more. I don't know that they can alternative cost it. Oh, so they can alternative cost it, sure. So we need to try to get something in the graveyard so this Exquisite Firecraft can resolve. We have Solitude to boot. Hey, look at our opponent with the big brains. Okay. So now we have a better idea what our opponent's working with. Not that we're terribly surprised by any of it. Smash doesn't really do much. I mean, yes, we can do 3 damage to a whatchamacallit, but yeah, hand's fine. So hopefully they don't have Leyline, but if they do, we kind of have them covered in a way. So Swift Spear, please let it do some damage, please. Thank you. Okay, opponent, turn 1, shock in. Nope, does nothing. Okay. Solitude. Tank, tank, tank. Pass. I love tank, 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 pass. It's so much fun. What card do we care about here? Force of Negation or Solitude. Goes to 13. Fetch a Triome and okay. Goblin God. Can only presume our opponent's going to like fetch a Triome and try to Leyline Binding this. At least they're smart and okay. Our opponent's 8. So now our opponent has the 1 ring coming down next turn. We go to 7. Okay, another. Pass. Fetch, go to 3, play the 1 ring. So now they have Wilderness Reclamation and the 1 ring in hand. Sure. Get Forest Plains. And Skullcrack. Alright, 3-0 so far. Alright, match number 4. So I'd like to be able to play. Sand is pretty decent, other than a little bit vulnerable to like a turn 1 Ragavan or something. As we have a series of spells to cast, so go ahead and do this. Swizzle Spear. Catch it for 1, go. Okay, so Nothing. Figuring rhinos are living in at this point. Yep, maybe 4-color. Okay. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and Skullcrack you main phase. Alright, I have no idea what's going on over there. Line binding, perhaps? Yep. Go after the Swizzle Spear, or do you go after the Vortex? Go after the Swizzle Spear. So I think to better utilize our mana, we just skewer them, put them to 7, even if they have Teferi. We have to put them to like 4. Teferi would be like worst case scenario here, but nope. Fable of the Mirror Breaker. So burn spell should be lethal. Question is, do we just go for main phase? Put you to 1 and pass. Trigger goes on the stack. I mean, that's not unfortunately going to protect you. So we're going to do this. They're going to solitude that. Like the only thing that keeps them alive. So unfortunately, trigger's on the stack, so you're already dead. So we saw Fable, Leyline Bindings, not a lot else. If I had to put money on anything at this point, I'd probably say Omnath Pile. Cards would I even want for that matchup? Like 2 Firecrafts. And you could argue for Wear Terrace, perhaps. So maybe go like that. Go down the Searing Blazes. Or maybe Rift Bolts. Not really sure, because like Rift Bolt's bad against Vortex and Teferi. Searing Blaze is likely not the best against their deck. Like, they showed us Fable, so they probably have like Fable, Solitude, etc. This hand's a little clunky, but I think on the draw you keep like a reasonable hand. So Delighted Halfling on 1. Okay. Pass. So Searing Blaze gets a little better in the face of Delighted Halfling. But yeah, I'm thinking we're up against Omnath. This is probably a run-in ticks. Yep. So it's just Omnath Pile. We had a really bad draw last game. So we're definitely leaving Searing Blaze in. Alright, not the best of situations. Basically, we did nothing for the first turn cycle to speak of. Yield through the turn, because there's nothing else we can do, quite literally. They have turn 3 Omnath, we're just in like a world of pain. Teferi's annoying, like they'll bounce this. fetch land. Alright, so Firecraft kind of gives us at least a prayer as long as they don't have Omnath. Sure. They have Omnath here. We actually have to trigger this before, or either in response to Omnath being cast or in response to the draw trigger. That way they can't like play fetch land, crack fetch land, gain life. But we're still in a world of trouble, so to speak. Four mana with a black pip. Okay, One Ring, sure. This is a fun, exciting, wholesome gameplay experience. Leyline Binding, sure. Nothing we can do about that, unfortunately. Or if our opponent has an Omnath, I think we can go ahead and scoop it up. Alright, and as exciting as that game was, I think in the face of that we bring back in the Searing Blazes over the other two Rift Bolts. Now that we can 100% confirm what our opponent's on. So I'd like to play first. His hand is a bit middling because we're missing a land, but I do think I'll keep it. Alright. Guide. Please don't hand them lands. Hand them the One Ring, which is fine, I guess. Ideally, they play like turn one prismatic ending. That's not what we wanted to see here. Really do need to find another land though pretty quickly. Second prismatic ending. Must be nice. Okay. Okay, guess we're just continue drawing 1-drops. Fetches. Teferi. Yep, feels like a Teferi. Bounce this. Hopefully we draw a spell. Alright, I'm in a land. So Spear. Go ahead and go ahead and attack them this turn, because next turn we're just going to get to deal with Teferi in the turn cycle that we can't attack them. So Obviously, if they have an Omnath, it's considerably worse, but unfortunately we can't play around that, so... It does nothing. Okay. I'll try to go after your life total. Presume this just gets force of negation. Do I play around Leyline Binding here? I don't know that I really can. Weather the storm. Well, frack me. I think we go ahead and deal with Teferi then. Okay, Nissa. Okay, so force a chump block, basically. Which is fine. You have the One Ring in hand, right? Why don't you play that? Chalice on one? Yep. Kayla, 3-mana Leyline Binding, sure. Alright. Omnath, we're pretty screwed. Yep. Oh, just the One Ring. Just the One Ring. Okay, not terrible bad. That does nothing, that's fine. Do you have a fetch land? Hopefully not. So they're going to 1, then back to 5. Play around something like Weather the Storm? I don't think so. Okay. Get another copy of Weather the Storm, we lose. I'm not playing around it. Solitude, sure. Solitude, pitch Eldershnorn. Alright. That goes to 2. Mm-hmm. Let's draw another Omnath. Three mana Nissa. Nope, Sickle, Zagoth, Triumph. Okay. Teferi, bounce your One Ring. Yep. With a bunch of cards in hand, including the One Ring. Okay. It's not lethal on its own, but it's not terrible either. Guess they could have another Leyline Binding, which would be annoying, but yep, we know they have the One Ring in hand at minimum, so yep, here comes the One Ring. Yep. Okay. Sure. Swift Spear, while not lethal on its own. Do you have another Leyline Binding? Should have at least attacked a fairy there, but yep, that's unfortunate. Yep, so they're not quite dead yet. At least they cannot afford to draw with a ring. Okay, now you draw with a ring. So Renantix is not scary. Omnath, however, is very scary. What are you considering? I wonder if my opponent was just trying to bluff me in the concession here. I mean, if it's Omnath, you kind of have to play Omnath. Sure. Another Teferi. Okay. Bounce the One Ring, recast the One Ring. Sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you have a land in hand? Yeah. Got a 5. Play to fairy. Okay. Bounce the ring, play the 1 ring again. And we'll go to 8 here. Just in time, Skullcrack. Just in time. Alright, I can only presume that we're dead here, but I can play it out. Mm-hmm. Yep. That goes to 8. Goes to 11. Alright. And pack it in. Alright, match 5. Good luck. Select the first. Sounds pretty good overall. Okay, so this Swift Spear. For 1, go. And it goes. Turn 1 Botanical Sanctum. Okay. Please don't grief me. Of course you're griefing me. I've taken Inspiring Advantage there. Not Inspiring Advantage, I have to take Roiling Vortex. So advantage 2. Got Living End again, which is fine-ish. That goes to 10. Yep, generous Ent. Stomping ground into cycle something, sure. Sure. 6, and then 4, and then presumably to combo they have to shock in, so no, they do not. It's unfortunate. So gets to double grief us, whatever. At least they don't get to architects us, but now we're reliant upon a top deck Boros Charm, or it's game over. Alright. Would say that was fun, but certainly was not. Chalices in. Wear Terrors in. Rest in Peace in. Searing Blazes out. Copy a Riftbolt out. Call it a day. This hand is highly dependent upon drawing a second land, but still a pretty solid hand overall, especially in the face of what's possibly our opponent mulliganing towards a Leyline of the Void. Not Leyline of the Void, Leyline of Sanctity. So. Okay, opponent choosing their cards to put back, presumably we're going to be. Okay, so we are not amazingly staring down a Leyline. Alright. Okay. Goblin Guide. Need to top deck a land next turn. Our opponent not to have grief this game. They have Brazen Borrower, which is somewhat as annoying. Opponent turn 1 land, go. Land? No land. Swift Spear. Opponent reveals Striker Rewinder, which they will likely cycle into right now. Maybe not. Maybe they have a land cycler. Okay, nope. They have Striker Rewinder and Brazen Borrower in hand. We desperately need to draw another land here. We do not. So, move to combat. So we'll probably force them to Brazen Borrower us. It goes to 8. Cycles, so they do draw the Generous Ent. Goes to 7. Wowzers. Okay, so they have a another Shardless Agent. Yep. Don't. So 9, 12. They have a whatchamacallit, we're dead. Violent Outburst. Figured they'll just crack that food token and put this game out of reach, right? Okay, crack the food. Yep, go to 10. So that pretty much puts it out of reach. Okay. And we'd have to draw an untapped land at that. That doesn't deal us damage. Okay, so I would say that was a good game, but yeah. Alright, so we're back with the quick wrap for our second league on this particular account. All things considered, that was a reasonable league. I mean, we started out 3-0, including beating Enchantress and Living End, and then beating a Wilderness Reclamation deck, and then we lost to a very close Game 3 to Omnath Pile, and then we lost 0-2 to a second Living End match. Don't really know much to say. There was one small mistake in the Omnath matchup where I didn't attack Teferi, which allowed them to bounce the one ring, buy another turn, etc. It may not have been relevant, but it might have bought them the turn they needed to combo off, or, combo off being a relative term, but Omnath land, crack fetch, draw cards, so that small mistake may have cost us that match. I'm not entirely sure. Like, maybe your opponent could have sequenced a little bit differently to where it didn't matter. But small mistakes can matter in a meta where Burn is very... It's been well positioned lately, but the small mistakes get punished a lot more than they used to. So, Living End matchup, maybe I'm supposed to mulligan a bit more aggressively. The one-lander did bite us a couple times in this league. But that was a pretty solid hand. If we ever draw a second land, that hand has the upside of probably winning that game. Game 1, them having double grief at the right time. A little unfortunate, but sometimes that's just what their deck does. And so, who knows what would have happened in a Game 3. But, yeah. Living End's a close-ish matchup. I'd probably give us the edge Game 1, and then they have the edge post-board. But it is play draw dependent in that regard. And then post-board, it's about them guessing what our hate cards are. Unfortunately, most of our hate cards are artifacts or enchantments, so they can bring in like Foundation Breakers and Force of Vigors if they have them. Force of Negation tends to handle most of our hate cards. So, even with the Chalices and the Rolling Vortex's main, I still think it's a close-ish matchup because they have access to Leyline of Sanctity and anti-answers to whatever we've got. Plus they have, Grief, Force of Negation, Foundation Breaker. It's not like where we compare, like, say, Flusterstorm with Leyline of the Void, that some decks can play. They're forced to kind of like... It's one of the problems when you're playing Living End is, if your opponent has a mixture of hate they can bring in, that's like both spell-based and combo-based, or no, permanent-based hate, it's a lot harder to sideboard. But if they only have like one type of permanent-based hate, you can rely on Force of Negations and Foundation Breakers to kind of clear the way. So, anywho, if you like this kind of burn content, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Hope to see you for our next video.